This movie recapped. Today I am going to explain horror, thriller movie called IT Chapter 1. Derry, Maine, October 1988. Jaden Lieberher helps his younger sibling Georgie, Jackson Robert Scott, make a paper boat, calling it the SS Georgie. Georgie needs to go outside to cruise it in the heavy storm, yet Bill is excessively wiped out to go along with him. The siblings embrace before Georgie heads out to play. Georgie sails his boat down the road. He pursues it and coincidentally runs into a barrier. The boat sails to the furthest limit of the road until it falls into the saw. Georgie races to attempt to get it, stressed that Bill will be frantic. As he investigates the saw, a couple of yellow eyes arise. They have a place with an element calling itself Pennywise the Moving Comedian, Bill Skarsgård. Pennywise energetically addresses Georgie prior to offering him his boat back. Georgie goes after it, just for Pennywise to snatch his arm and sink his gigantic teeth into it. The animal rips off Georgie's arm and leaves him sobbing for Bill prior to hauling him down into the saws. After 8 months. June 1989. We meet Mike Hanlon, picked Jacobs, as his granddad Leroy, Stephen Williams, is making him kill a sheep with a nailer. Leroy addresses the kid prior to carrying out the thing himself. It's the last day of school. Bill and his companion Richie Tozier, Finn Wolfhard, Eddie Karsbrack, Jack Dylan Slow Eater, and Stanley Uys, Wyatt Olef, who all structure the Washouts Club, are going on a mission to begin their late spring. Sadly, they run into the school's psychopathic harasser Henry Arbers, Nicholas Hamilton, and his thugs Patrick Hochstetter, Owen Teague, Victor Chris, Logan Thompson, and Burt Huggins, Jake Sim. Bill tells Henry he sucks after the troublemaker ridicules his companions, and Henry approaches Bill threateningly until he sees his dad, Official Thickets, Stuart Hughes, remaining behind Bill. He leaves, however not prior to licking his palm and spreading it all over. A young lady named Beverly Bogg, Sophia Lillis, is smoking in the washroom. A gathering of mean young ladies drove by Greta, Megan Charpentier, insult her and blame Bev for being a skank. One young lady fills a garbage sack loaded with water and dumps it on Bev, however she covers her head with her book. On out of the structure, Beverly meets the new youngster, Ben Hascom, Jeremy Beam Taylor. He gets singled out for his weight and he has no companions. Bev signs his yearbook, and Ben seems to foster a pound on her. At the point when Bill returns home, his dad Zach, Jeffrey Poundset, chides him for making a model with containers of the saw framework in Derry since he actually accepts that Georgie is just absent. Zach advises him to acknowledge that Georgie is dead. Mike goes to the butcher shop to make a conveyance. Behind the entryway around the back street, he hears what sounds like shouting and beating. The entryway opens and a few consumed hands begin standing out. Mike then, at that point, sees Pennywise, yet is almost run over by the Thickets posse in a vehicle. Mike escapes. Stan is at the temple reading up for his Jewish rite of passage. There is a painting in the rabbi's office that creeps him out, showing a lady with a misshaped face. The artistic creation falls, and when Stan gets it, the lady is no more. He pivots and it appears as the lady with a fanged grin. Stan takes off. Ben is at the library looking into Derry's set of history. From a progression of articles, he discovers that youngsters in Derry have been vanishing under baffling conditions for a really long time. The book contains a portrayal of Pennywise and a missing kid's head in a tree. Ben is then baited into the cellar where he sees the headless kid prior to getting pursued out by Pennywise. Returning, Ben is gone after by the Groves pack. Henry's thugs hold him against the extension railing. Patrick needs to copy Ben with a lighter and bug splash, yet Henry intends to cut his name into Ben's stomach. An old couple drive by and see this, however sit idle. It's inferred that IT is there with the presence of a red inflatable. Henry just cuts AH before Ben kicks him in the nuts and turns over the scaffold and into the forest. The troublemakers pursue Ben. In the meantime, the failures are close to the saws as Bill has persuaded his companions to assist him with tracking down Georgie. Ben falls into the water close to them, and the young men get him and carry him to somewhere safe. Patrick runs into the sewers to attempt to get Ben, parting from his companions. He experiences evil-looking youngsters that make him run, yet he goes over an impasse. A lot of red inflatables show up before him, and they generally pop to uncover Pennywise, who instantly eats up Patrick. The young men go to the drug store to get cotton balls and swathes, yet they are in need of cash. Beverly is there purchasing tampons when she runs into the young men. In the wake of hearing their concern, Bev claims to play with the drug specialist, Mr. Keene, Joe Bostic, to occupy him. He puts on a show of being a killjoy to her, yet she figures out how to divert him long enough for the young men to take their provisions, and for her to slip away a few cigarettes. Bev heads outside and joins the young men when she sees the young men keeping an eye on Ben. Beverly returns home to her dad, Stephen Bogart, who is a much greater drag than Mr. Keene. He goes on to his little girl, making her run into the washroom crying. She then, at that point, continues to trim off her hair until it's at a more limited length. The young men, presently joined by Ben, are at the quarry prepared to hop into the lake, yet nobody is anxious to go first. Bev appears and bounces first, driving the others to join. They have a good time while swimming and hanging out. Afterward, Ben educates everybody what he read regarding in Derry's set of experiences. Eddie is heading back home when he passes the unwanted house on Niebolt Road. He is out of nowhere gone after by an untouchable, Javier Botet, making Eddie go through the house's yard. As he arrives at the wall, he sees Pennywise attempting to draw him toward him. Eddie runs under the wall and escapes. Bev is in her room with a postcard with a sonnet composed on it by a mysterious admirer. She believes it's Bill, however it was really Ben that composed it. From her washroom, Bev hears the voices of kids. She investigates the sink where the voices are, and bunches of hair begin connecting with Snatch her before a wellspring of blood spouts all around the washroom. Mr. Swamp comes in to see Bev appalled, however he can't see the blood. He essentially remarks that her hair makes her seem to be a kid. Bill is strolling around the house when he sees what resembles Georgie going around. Stunned, he follows Georgie to the cellar, which is flooding. Georgie ventures out and welcomes Bill to go along with him, saying we as a whole float down here. You'll drift as well. He rehashes you'll drift as well until he shouts and breaks down. Pennywise then, at that point, rises up out of the water and attempts to get Bill, yet he runs out of the cellar. The following day, the children are riding their bicycles when they see Mike's bicycle and the Groves Pack's vehicle. They go somewhere near the rivulet to find the troublemakers annoying Mike for being dark. Bev tosses a stone at Henry's head, which starts a stone-tossing battle between the two gatherings. Mike goes to the failures' side while Vic and Burp take off as Henry is thumped oblivious. As the children leave with Mike, Bill makes reference to what he found in his home. Eddie upholds him on having seen Pennywise. Mike makes reference to what he saw and discusses how his old house was copied somewhere around bigoted thugs, and his folks kicked the bucket attempting to separate the way to his room, with their skin having dissolved deep down. Richie is the one in particular that hasn't been spooky, however he concedes to being scared of comedians. The children go to Bill's carport where they investigate a guide of Derry through a projector. They see that the saws are connected to the Niebolt house, where IT lives. The projector then, at that point, begins working itself, showing pictures of Bill and Georgie with their folks, yet with Pennywise's face showing up over their mom. They push the projector over, however it continues to play until Pennywise completely rises out of the screen and attempts to get the children. They figure out how to escape the carport before he can hurt them. The washouts go to the Niebolt house to deal with IT directly. Charge, Richie, and Eddie go into the house while the others stay outside as posts. Richie sees a missing banner of himself and he blows a gasket, yet Bill reminds him it's not genuine. Eddie gets isolated from his companions when Pennywise tracks down him. He falls through the floor and terrains in the kitchen, breaking his arm. Bill and Richie attempt to contact him through 3 entryways. The main entryway they open uncovers a headless young lady. The subsequent entryway traps Richie inside with a room brimming with jokester dolls. He sees a casket with a sham of himself in it. He closes it, and Pennywise leaps out. He attempts to go after Richie, yet he runs out of the room. Pennywise returns his regard for Eddie, however Bill and Richie get to him before the jokester eats him. Beverly then makes an appearance to drive a lance through Pennywise's head, constraining him to withdraw. Eddie's mother restricts the washouts from spending time with him after she sees his messed up arm. Bill and Richie then get into a battle when Richie says this entire quest for Georgie has almost destroyed them. The washouts head out in different directions as the other young men are excessively unnerved to continue onward. It's currently August, and the children have kept approaching their lives. Eddie goes to the drugstore to get his asthma prescription, just for Greta, who works behind the counter, to let him know that they are fake treatments. She then, at that point, expresses failure on his arm cast. Henry is with Vic and Burp firing things with his father's weapon. He arranges Burp to present to him a feline to shoot, yet Official Thickets makes an appearance to take the firearm from Henry. He then, at that point, shoots the ground around Henry's feet to embarrass him before his companions and uncover him as a quitter. Afterward, Henry sees a red inflatable on his post box. Inside is a blade, sent by IT. He goes inside as his dad is snoozing with the television on. On the screen seems a lady with youngsters, all encouraging Henry to kill his dad. He does as such by putting the blade in his neck and allowing him to drain out. The children on television, every last bit of its casualties, then, at that point, begin reciting "Kill them all. Kill them all." At the Bog House, Beverly's father endeavors to follow up on his desire to ward his girl. She fends him off and runs into the washroom. At the point when Mr. Swamp arrives, Bev whacks him across the face with a latrine top, killing him. Similarly, as she is going to leave, Pennywise tracks down her and takes her. Bill goes by Bev's home and tracks down her dad dead in the restroom, and sees "You'll kick the bucket on the off chance that you attempt" composed on the wall in blood. He understands Bev has been taken by IT, so he goes to offer to set things straight with his companions to save her. At the point when they get Eddie, his mother precludes him from leaving and joining his companions, yet he opposes her when he goes up against her over the fake treatments. He dumps her and joins his companions. The young men go to the Neibolt house and find a well where IT stays. They move down a rope, yet before Mike can head down, Henry appears and goes after him. He begins pulling the rope up to forestall the young men from moving back up. Henry attempts to kill Mike with the nailer that he brought, yet Mike wards him off and figures out how to push him down the well, sending him to his clear passing. Going further into the well, Stan is gone after by IT as the lady from the artwork. She chomps on his head, yet the young men drive IT off and comfort a humiliated Stan. All the young men head further into the well where they track down its refuge. Every one of the kids he's taken are drifting up in the deadlights under a daze of some sort or another. The young men find Bev drifting. They pull her down, and Ben kisses her to break her out of the daze. Bill then, at that point, sees Georgie rise up out of the shadows. Georgie tells Bill he missed him and was hanging tight for him to come for him. Bill embraces his sibling, yet he knows it's not actually Georgie, and he shoots him in the head. His body squirms on the ground until he transforms into Pennywise. The comedian attempts to kill the children, yet they ward him off until he has his hand on Bill. Pennywise gives the others the choice to kick the bucket together, or leave him with simply Bill. Bill advises them to run, yet Richie is quick to retaliate. The children then begin giving a thumping to Pennywise until he is frail, unfit to hurt them since they never again dread him. Before Bill can strike the lethal disaster for the comedian's breaking skull, Pennywise withdraws into the haziness and in this way get away. The grabbed youngsters then float descending. Bill then, at that point, tracks down George's overcoat. He understands that Georgie genuinely is gone. Bill separates in tears as his companions accumulate around and embrace him. It is currently September. The failures swear a blood pledge to get back to Derry in 27 years. Would it be a good idea for IT at any point return? They hang out for some time until every one of them continuously leaves, with just Bill and Bev stay behind. She will move to Portland now. As she leaves, Bill approaches her and kisses her.